Welcome back, dear students and friends. We have started with chapter number 8, Human Health and Disease. In this chapter, we have learned various aspects of health, diseases, types of diseases, some commonly occurring the infectious diseases found in human, and we have also discussed immunity. Okay. Now we will move ahead with another disorder which affect the human being, and this disorder is AIDS. Okay, this is important, very important disease, so you have to learn thoroughly. Okay, so now today we are going to start with a disease called as an AIDS. What is the full form of AIDS? AIDS is, the full form is, A means acquired, I means immuno, D means deficiency, S means syndrome. Okay, the full form of AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, so this is a full form of AIDS. This is an infectious disease, a sexually transmitted infectious disease, and that is caused by a virus. The virus which is responsible for causing this AIDS, it is HIV. Full form is human immunodeficiency virus. Clear? This is a full form of HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. This virus is responsible for causing AIDS. This virus is a retrovirus. It is a type of a retrovirus. Retrovirus, that means a virus which has a genetic material, RNA. Usually in the living organism the genetic material is a DNA, but here this HIV, that's human immunodeficiency virus, is a kind of a retrovirus, means in this virus the genetic material is RNA instead of a DNA. Okay, and it is surrounded by a protein envelope, or you can also call it as capsid. Okay, so that RNA is covered with a protein envelope, that is a characteristic of such kind of a virus, what we call it them as retroviruses. Okay, the first case of AIDS was discovered in 1981. Okay, the first case of this AIDS was discovered in 1981, and from that currently we have more than 25 million cases are reported, and many of them have been died. Okay, so this is the severity of an AIDS. Okay, I again repeat, what is an AIDS? The AIDS is a disease, or it's a collection of a syndrome, what we call it as acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, the name itself suggests it's immunodeficiency, means in this disorder the immune system decreases, works. Okay, so that's why your body doesn't get so protected from certain other infections. Here the immune system gets decreased. Okay, it is caused by a retrovirus. Okay, the name of virus is HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, that is responsible for it. Okay, next, how this disease is caused, or how the spread of this virus occurs. The spread of virus can occur by a number of ways. First way of transmission of this is sexual contact with infected person. Okay, this is the first way for transmission of HIV virus, a sexual contact with an infected person. Okay, second, by transfusion of, means transfusion of contaminated or infected blood and blood products. Clear? This is the second way by which it is going to be transmitted. Okay, the third way of transmission of this HIV virus, or how it is going to be spread. So third way, by using needles used by infected person. It can also spread by use of needles that is used by an infected person. And that is a fourth way of transmission or spread. It is transferred or transmitted from infected mother to fetus or baby by placenta or through placenta. Okay, so these are the four commonest way by which this HIV virus spreads. Clear? I again repeat, which are the different ways by which the HIV virus can spread. First, the sexual contact with an infected person. Okay, that is transmit the HIV virus. Second, transfusion of infected blood and its products. That is second. Third, use of needles that is already used by infected person. And the fourth one is, it is also transmitted from infected mother to a fetus through a placenta. Okay, or even it can also be transmitted through a breastfeeding. Okay, from infected mother to a fetus. So these are the common way. So this is a usual mode of transmission of HIV viruses. So the chances of occurrence of this disease is very high in such kind of a population. Which kind of population? First kind of a population, those who have a multiple sexual partner. Those who have multiple sexual partners, in that circumstances, the chances of occurrence of this disease is very high. Second, the chances of occurrence of disease is very high in the cases where the person or the patients require repeated blood transfusion. If a person that is suffering from certain disorders like thalassemia and so on, which requires a repetitive blood transfusion, and if the person requires a repeated blood transfusion, in that case the chances is very high. Okay, it can also occur or occurs in the group of people who are drug abusers. Because the drug abusers, you might have seen in movies, the drug abusers, they are taking the injections of a drugs. Okay, they are using the needles for the administration of a drug, and the same needle is going to be used by multiple people. Okay, so the same needle is used by multiple people, and it may happen that that needle may come in a contact with a infected person, and that is used by another non-infected person. So these are the cases, drug abusers who are addicted to a drugs. In that circumstances, the chances is very high. Okay, so this population that is easily gets affected with the AIDS. Which population gets affected? Multiple sexual partners, those people who have multiple sexual partners. Second, those people who require a repeated blood transfusions. Third, drug abusers. In these cases, it can be easily transmitted. Okay, and these are the usual four ways of transmission of an HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Remember, this virus does not spread just by a touch or physical contact. It doesn't spread by just a touch or physical contact. So if I touch to an infected person, or if I hug an infected person, that disease does not transmit. It only transmits when someone comes in a contact with a body fluids of infected person, like a blood. When someone comes in the contact of a body fluid or the blood of an infected person, then and then it is going to be transmitted. It is not transmitted, remember, it is not transmitted through a touch or physical contact with an infected person. So we should not do a pressure on that infected person, because there is some kind of a social pressure and there is a kind of a physical pressure that is on the infected person, and that may causes a psychological problem to a person or a patient who are infected with AIDS. Okay, but they should be counseled psychologically as well as socially. Okay, so that is about the mode of transmission. Okay, so this is a full form of disease. This is a name of virus, HIV virus, that is responsible for causing that AIDS. It is a kind of a retrovirus. These are the four ways by which it can be transmitted. This is the commonest way, and the chances of occurrence of this disease is very high in such kind of a population. but it doesn't spread through a physical contact or a touch. Okay. Now we have to understand how this cycle occurs or how the AIDS that is transmitted, a proper mode of transmission. So we will start how this disease is going to be transmitted. Suppose assume that this is a virus. Okay, it is a virus. What we are here talking about, the HIV virus, and that contains an RNA code. So it's an RNA which is surrounded by this protein code. Okay, protein code. This is a virus. I specifically write this is HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. Okay, HIV. Okay, human immunodeficiency virus. This virus, it contains its RNA. So I specifically write it's a viral RNA, and this is protein code. It's a protein code of virus. Clear? Now what happens? Okay, this virus, suppose assume that this is a human cell. Okay, human cell. Specifically I am writing that here, assume that this is a macrophage. Okay, it's a macrophage. This virus is the human immunodeficiency virus. It enters into a macrophage. It enters into a macrophage. So here the virus enters. The virus that enters into a macrophage. This is a virus. Okay. Now, once it enters into a macrophage, what happens? It releases its RNA. So its RNA is going to be released. I write so you can easily understand. This is the viral RNA that is released by the virus. Okay. This viral RNA that is going to be replicated, or it leads to a formation of a DNA. What we call it as viral DNA. Okay. See, this is a viral DNA. Okay. The process occurs by enzyme. This is called as reverse transcriptase. Okay, it is a reverse transcriptase by which the viral RNA gets converted to a viral DNA. Okay, a reverse transcription. Okay, next, after that, this viral DNA gets incorporated into a host. This is a macrophage, so obviously it contains a nucleus. This is a nucleus. Okay, and that nucleus contains a DNA. This is host DNA. And this is the host nucleus. Host nucleus, that means, right, with this means so you don't get confused. It's a host nucleus. Okay. Now, this viral DNA that is formed by a process called as reverse transcriptase, it incorporate to a host DNA. See, such kind of incorporation takes place. Okay. So now it's a combination. Okay. Now once after it is going to be formed. Now what happens? From this, it will lead to a formation of RNA. And from it, a new virus molecule. This is a new virus molecule. Is going to be produced, and this virus is released out of a cell. It releases the out of a cell. Okay, release of a new virus. Thus, the macrophage can act as a factories of these viruses. Our own cells that becomes a factory or production site for a more number of viruses. Clear? I again repeat how the process occurs. Suppose assume that by any way either through a sexual contact or through the use of contaminated blood or infected blood or through use of an infected needles. If this one, the viral RNA enters into a blood, HIV virus enters into a blood. The HIV virus enters into a cell called as macrophage. It enters into which cell? Macrophage. This is a macrophage. It enters into macrophage. Once it is in a macrophage, it releases its RNA. What the viral RNA gets released. From this viral RNA, viral DNA is formed by an enzyme called as reverse transcriptase. This process is also called as reverse transcription. The viral DNA now gets incorporated into a host DNA. Host DNA forms an RNA. From that, the new virus molecule is going to be produced. That new virus molecule gets released. Okay, and so many virus molecules are going to be produced, and this macrophage is serving as a factories of production of new viruses. And now the count of these viruses increases in the body of a host. Afterwards, simultaneously, when this process occurs, the virus also enters into T helper lymphocytes. They enters into T helper lymphocyte, TH cells. Okay, that's called as helper T lymphocytes. H means helper. Now, once it is in a lymphocytes or helper T lymphocytes, it destruct and damage T helper cells. Okay, or T helper lymphocytes. This T helper lymphocyte gets damaged and they gets destroyed. So it leads to a damage and destroy T helper lymphocytes. Now you know the functions of T helper lymphocyte. They are the lymphocyte. So lymphocyte has a role in an immune system. They are responsible for immunity. But now here in HIV, the T helper cells gets damaged. Okay, they gets destroyed. So obviously the immunity of a host gets decreased. And this is what happens in case of AIDS. In case of AIDS. That's why what we call it as acquired immunodeficiency. The immune system becomes a deficient or decreased. Okay? And that is due to a destruction and damage of the T helper lymphocyte. This T helper lymphocyte is responsible for immunity. Okay? Once the immunity gets decreased, obviously the occurrence of the other diseases, other infectious diseases also increases, like pneumonia, toxoplasmosis, typhoid and so on. The other infectious disease, that is also increased, because when the immune system is intact, that immunity is protecting the body against that infections. But now the immune system has been decreased, so the other pathogens also attack on the body, and that may cause a multiple organ damage, and that may cause a death of an individual. Okay, and thus the AIDS person cannot easily survive for a long time period. When it is affecting this T lymphocytes, when the virus that is affecting a T lymphocyte, the person shows the variety of symptoms. Okay, so the person have a bouts of fever. These are the symptoms. And these symptoms are going to appear when the viruses are infecting the T helper cell or T helper lymphocytes. So the person have a bouts of fever. That means up and down body temperature, bouts of fever. The person have a diarrhea. The person have a weight loss. Significant weight loss. These are the symptoms they appear when this virus is that is infecting a T helper lymphocytes. Okay, so these are the symptoms usually occurs, and the other symptoms occurs that is due to a affect the body, that is due to a infection of a body or the host by other pathogens. Okay, so these are the usual symptoms and the transmission that takes place. Okay, so it is a transmission cycle. Okay, next. Diagnosis, how the doctor will diagnose, because these are the usual symptoms: bouts of fever, diarrhea, weight loss. These are the common symptoms from which the doctor cannot diagnose. Okay, so the diagnostic technique is, this is a diagnostic technique. Remember, this is a diagnostic technique it can be diagnosed by ELISA. Okay, full form is enzyme. E means enzyme, L means linked, I means immuno, S means sorbent, A means acid. This is a diagnostic technique, ELISA, okay, by which this disease can be diagnosed. ELISA, enzyme linked immunoabsorbent assay. This is a technique by which AIDS can be diagnosed. Okay. Usually the treatment is antiretroviral drug. Antiretroviral. Antiretrovirus means that kills the retroviruses. And you know that AIDS is caused by a retrovirus, that is HIV. But this therapy is not so much effective. So that's why it can lead to a death ultimately. Okay. But with the help of therapy, you can prolong the life of a patient. If the patient is going to die in 5 years, but if he is on a therapy, antiretroviral therapy, it may happen that instead of 5 years, the patient may die after 10 years. Okay? But the death occurs because the immune system is severely gets affected. Okay? So you know that there is a treatment, but that treatment is that is not so much effective. So ultimately, there is a prevention is better than cure. Okay, and how it has to be prevented. Prevention strategy is the utmost in the prevention of an AIDS. Okay, various agencies. You have to remember the name of these agencies. I just write down over here which are the agencies. The agency is NACO, that is National AIDS Control Organization. NACO, National AIDS Control Organization, and other NGOs, non-government organizations, they are doing a lots of efforts. So that's why the people do not get infected with such kind of a deadly diseases. Okay, and that can be prevented because the prevention is the utmost priority in spreading of this HIV infection. Okay, so they advise or counsel the patients regarding do not have multiple partners, okay, multiple sexual partners, because if they have multiple sexual partners, the chances of occurrence of disease is very high. They have arranged a blood bank. Now we are not taking a blood transfusion directly from a people, okay, we are taking it from a blood bank. What the blood bank does? The blood bank first check for the occurrence of a diseases. They will check they will go for a test of hepatitis B and the AIDS and etc. And if the blood is found to be safe, then and then the blood is going to be collected and stored in a blood bank. So it can also protect the person who requires a repeated blood transfusion. Okay. Next, here they promote a strategy in which they promote to use a disposable syringe and needles. Disposable. Use once, then throw. Use once and throw. Okay, because it is also going to be spread by the use of a needles of infected person. But once we use and throw or properly dispose it, the chances of occurrence of that disease is decreased. Okay, they also prevent it, the preventive strategy. They advise the people to use the certain contraceptive methods like a condoms before sexual activity. So that's why, because that the advantage of this physical barrier is that it prevents a STI, sexually transmitted infection. So various measures have been taken by this NACO and certain NGOs. That is, NACO means National AIDS Control Organization and NGO means non-government organizations. They have done certain measures, okay, by which we can control this disease. Okay, so that's all about a disease called as AIDS. We have learned regarding its full form of AIDS, the causative agent of AIDS, that is HIV, a kind of a retrovirus, how it is going to be transmitted and spread, how it is not transmitted. Okay, the occurrence of this disease AIDS is very high in certain category of population. Okay, that is also discussed. How it is transmitted, so that means we have also seen it's a mechanism of spread. Then we have also seen it's a diagnosis. The treatment is antiretroviral therapy, but it is not as effective as we want. Okay, so the last we have also discussed the prevention strategy that are adopted by the NACO and NGO. Okay, so students, learn this disease in detail. Okay, it is very important. Keep learning, keep watching, like and subscribe this channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you once again.